I walked into that restaurant expecting nothing more than a quiet dinner and a glass of water. But before I could even speak, my entire body froze. Standing in front of me was the one person I had buried 8 months ago, my daughter-in-law. She was heavily pregnant, her hands were trembling. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she leaned closer and whispered words that made my heart stop. "Please do not tell him I am alive." I stared at her in complete shock. Then what she told me next made my blood boil so badly I could barely breathe. 8 months earlier, my entire family stood around a grave crying over what we believed was a terrible tragedy. My son Daniel had called me in the middle of the night screaming that his wife Emma had died in a horrible car accident while visiting her sister 2 states away. I was devastated. Emma was one of the kindest people I had ever known. She had always treated me like family from the first day we met. The funeral was closed casket because Daniel said the injuries were too severe for anyone to see her. I never questioned him. I trusted my son completely. Life moved on, but something inside me never felt right. Daniel barely seemed sad after only a few weeks. Instead, he started spending money recklessly. Expensive watches, luxury vacations, new furniture. Every time I asked where the money came from, he laughed and said he was finally making smart investments. It bothered me, but I pushed the thought aside because grief affects people differently. Then one rainy Thursday evening, I stopped by a small restaurant across town after a meeting. The place was nearly empty. I sat down and reached for the menu. A waitress approached carrying a tray. The second I looked up, my chest tightened so hard I thought I might collapse. It was Emma. Her hair was shorter and dyed darker, but I knew that face instantly. My heart pounded wildly. She was 8 months pregnant. Her uniform barely fit over her stomach. She saw me and nearly dropped the tray. Her face turned pale. I stood up so quickly my chair crashed behind me. "Emma," I whispered. Her eyes filled with tears immediately. She looked around nervously before rushing toward me. Her hands grabbed my arm tightly as she whispered words that made my stomach twist. "Please don't tell Daniel I am alive." I stared at her, unable to process what I was hearing. "What do you mean, don't tell Daniel? We buried you." She started crying harder and looked terrified. Then she said something I will never forget. "There was never an accident. Daniel tried to kill me." I felt like the entire room disappeared around me. She explained everything between shaking breaths. Months ago, Daniel had discovered she inherited nearly $3 million from her late grandmother. At first, he acted supportive but soon began pressuring her to transfer everything into their joint account. When she refused, he changed completely. He became aggressive, controlling, and violent. One night during an argument, he shoved her down the stairs while screaming that everything she had belonged to him. She was only weeks pregnant at the time. Terrified for herself and her unborn baby, she secretly packed essentials and ran to a friend several cities away. But Daniel was obsessed with the money. He knew if she disappeared legally, he could gain access to certain financial rights faster if everyone believed she was dead. Using connections through an old friend at a funeral service company, he staged everything. Fake police reports, fake accident story, closed casket funeral. Everyone believed she was gone. Emma had been hiding ever since, working small jobs under another name, trying to save enough money to protect herself and the baby before filing criminal charges. As I listened, rage consumed me. My own son had manipulated an entire family and attempted to murder his wife for money. That night, I drove straight to Daniel's house, pretending nothing was wrong. He greeted me casually, drinking expensive whiskey in his new living room. I looked around and suddenly understood exactly where his wealth had come from. I asked him one simple question. "Daniel, if Emma walked through that door right now, what would you do?" For the first time in months, his confident smile vanished. Before he could answer, police sirens exploded outside the house. Emma had already gathered every message recording and bank transaction, proving everything. I had helped her contact investigators that very night. Daniel ran toward the back door, but officers tackled him before he made it to steps outside. As they dragged him away, he screamed my name, begging me to help him. I looked him directly in the eyes and said the words he would remember forever. "You stopped being my son the moment you tried to kill the mother of your child." Months later, Emma gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She rebuilt her life stronger than ever. And every time I hold my granddaughter, I remember something important. Sometimes monsters do not hide in the shadows. Sometimes they sit at your own dinner table pretending to be family. I buried the woman I thought was dead, only to discover my own son had buried his humanity long before that day. I lost a son that night, but I gained the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts far less than betrayal. Remember this carefully. The deepest wounds in life are not caused by strangers. They come from the people you trusted the most.